Welcome to Coach-to-Coach. Our guest today is Patrick Hickman from Patrick Hickman Coaching. After more than 20 years working in finance and audit professions as a chartered accountant, Patrick's passion for working with people has led him to the field of coaching and personal development. Patrick works with clients to achieve more in their lives and to overcome their perceived limitations and obstacles. Patrick coaches his girls in rugby and has recently written and published a book called Mud, Dries, and Tantrums, Raising Happy Rugby Players, which is what we're here to talk about today. Thanks so much for joining us, Patrick. It's great to see you.
Thanks for having me, Greg.
Yeah, my pleasure. So, I've got the book here, this side behind me, in the
Yes, I saw
flesh,
it. Yeah, very
um,
good.
and I just love it. And the way I like to start these things off is just asking what first sparked your interest in writing this book?
Well, I've always felt at some point I would write a book, but never quite got to the point where I decided what it would be about. And then partway through last year, I started writing a, a much bigger book, which will be published in due course. But that covers, 52 inspiring quotes, weekly inspiration, um, around success and happiness and all that sort of thing. And like you and I were having a conversation and trying to, we were looking at how do we combine, multiple passions. Is there scope for a shorter version or something?
Mm,
And clearly, as you mentioned, I'm passionate about rugby. I coach my girls. I have done since my middle daughter was in under seven. So that's like when she was six. She's now into her teen years. And all three of my girls now play. And I thought, you know what? There's so many lessons and things that I've learned through that journey, whether it's frustration, elation, disappointment, irritation at behavior of other players, a referee, or the opposition parents, whatever it is. There's all sorts of emotions that one goes through as a rugby parent, and I'm sure from talking to other people, in other sports, it's not that different. So I thought, well, let me turn my attention to producing a little book that hopefully takes people on a journey, right? It's the journey I've been on. I believe the journey everybody goes on is slightly different, but there's bound to be commonalities. And so I produced this book, published it just before Christmas. Um, and yeah, so far happy with how it's going.
great. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about it, who it's for, how you think it'll help them, maybe even a little bit about it. I really love the way you've structured the content of the book. Maybe you can expand on that for us too.
Yeah, so like I said, it's everybody's journey is different, but there, I believe, yeah, different phases of let's say the journey through any week as a parent of a youth sports person. In my case, rugby players, and so I thought, let me structure it in that way. So it's kind of in four sections. There's the journey to the game or to the practice session, training session, whatever it is. And all of the emotions that go with that, whether it's trepidation, fear, uncertainty, just general stress of the moment. And that's not only the players, it's me as the parent. Then you're at the game and it's a different set of emotions. There's things are going swimmingly on the pitch and it's all good, or they're not going so well, or any mix of the two right through the whole game. And then the final whistle blows and your kid comes off the pitch either grinning from ear to ear because they've won. Maybe they haven't won, but they've had a great game. So it's a mixed, bag. It's, satisfaction and glee from a good performance, but not so much with the result, or, down in the dumps in tears because things didn't go their way. And it's trying to capture those moments through the means of a set of quotes. So I've, you come off the pitch, the emotions are really high or really low. It's very raw. Um, and what I've learned over time is that sometimes it's, well, more often than not, it's better to let those emotions play out and then revisit the game or revisit things a day or 2 days or a few hours later, whatever it is. And so the fourth section was once the mud has dried, once all those emotions have settled, been processed, all that sort of thing, then you can kind of come back to review the game at from a place of equilibrium, let's say, and so each section I've kind of scoured the books I've read, searched online to look for some quotes from some famous people, some not so famous people. I think there's one at the end of the book, which is one that I use a lot, and I felt, it encapsulates a message. So I thought, why not just chuck it in there? Maybe it will be famous one day, who knows? But basically, each quote is picked to point to a particular emotion, a particular situation that I think if you're a parent of a youth sports person, you've experienced that or witnessed someone experiencing it. And each section kind of covers off some of the personal learnings, personal anecdotes, how I've seen it play out on the pitch or from the sidelines. Then also a series of reflective questions. I purposefully steered away from making the book preachy and I have all the answers. It's not about me having all the answers. I have some answers that work for me, but maybe not all the time. And I think it's about finding that space for each parent of a young sports person to reflect on what is the outcome we want. Yes, we want success, but success is different for everyone. Does our player want to become, the next international superstar, or do they just want to have a long and enjoyable career playing, at grassroots for their local club? There's a space for everyone. But the key factor is if you're not happy, you probably stop playing. So how do we, as people of influence, as parents or coaches or whoever, demonstrate what we want our children to take from the game? Are we enjoying it? Yes, we're enjoying the ride. Mud, tries and tantrums all thrown in, right? It's a dirty old game when it's deep in February and it's been raining all week, or it could be freezing cold the next. Just last week we were training and brief snow showers, which the girls found fantastic because we don't often do that. But it's enjoying all of those elements of the game, and I believe that there are nuggets in there that everybody can take something from. If you take some time to, not read from cover to cover, you can do that if you want. But I hope that if there are points within that process that whoever's reading it steps back, looks at those reflective questions and thinks, actually, there's, something you can learn from it. And as you've mentioned, I do coach people, and part of being a coach, often we have to take our own medicine. And in writing the book, it was an opportunity for me to reflect as well and look at, okay, have I put my best foot forward at this particular game? And I must say, since embarking on writing it, I feel different when I'm watching or coaching or on the ride to the game. And whether it's just my perception or whether it's fact, I've seen my own daughter's approach to the game or enjoyment of the game change. Um, I think I'm really proud of it, and I hope more and more people get hold of it, take what they can from it. You don't have to take everything. It's not designed to be preachy. It's designed for each reader to go on a journey and discover something on the way.
I loved it. Yeah, I love the opportunity that it gives people to have insights of their own, reflect on their own journey, their own story, and yeah, and I love what you just said about how writing the book has had an impact on yourself and your girls and your combined journey through this game of rugby. Um, I'm curious if there's any specific stories contained in the book or that inspired the book that you'd love to share.
Yeah, there are so many. I think one of the things that I talk about in the book is what I've learned. I hope it comes through, but it's having coached my daughter and obviously all of her teammates from the age of 6, up into their teen years. The the journey they go on from learning to catch a ball and to pass a ball and to then from doing that standing still to running and doing it, there's a journey they go on in terms of learning skills, how to play the game, um, when to jump into a ruck or when to kick the ball and that sort of thing. And as a coach, I've evolved, and I'd like people to look at it from this perspective. So many times, and I talk about one instance, but it's happened many times in the years I've been coaching, is a player will make a decision to kick the ball, and maybe it's not the right decision, and we can see that from the sideline as a spectator or as a coach or whatever capacity we're in. And so often I hear, no, don't do that. And I just think that there is only one, there's one way that the player is going to learn whether that's the right time to kick, the right type of kick, the right, place to do it, whatever it is. And that's by doing it and seeing what happens. And so that's kind of one of the things I've put in the book is I think we get conditioned in society that people believe that those of us who are successful never made mistakes, but it's completely the opposite, right? It's those of us who are successful because we've probably figured out countless ways that things don't work, but we keep going. So there's stories like that in the book is let the player kick. If it goes well, let's talk about why we think it went well. If it didn't go well, maybe the players already thought that through. And often another thing in the book is sometimes we don't need to say something because the players already going through that turmoil themselves. They dropped the ball, they kicked it out on the full instead of, passing it to their teammate who's in a better position. Whatever it is, they're already playing that in their own mind. There's no point having another voice in there kind of validating that self-criticism. It doesn't help the player um, process it.
Mm.
So it's why I put in the section once the mud has dried, because maybe in 2 days' time, you can have that conversation. The player's gone through it. They probably have some of the answers already. Um, but at the time, if you're trying to force feed the answers, you're not going to make anything better. You probably make it worse.
Mm.
So it's just little things like that that I've picked up. Maybe it's just me. Maybe everyone else has got all the answers, but I don't
Yeah.
believe that to be the case. So I thought, put it in the book. Let people go on that journey.
Right. I know this might be hard, but if there's one thing that you'd want people to take away from this book, what would it be?
I think that being open to learning is so undervalued, right? I think that every experience we have, there's something to learn from, whether we're successful at something or not. And I'd like parents on the sidelines, whether they are rugby parents, basketball parents, hockey parents, football/soccer parents, whatever it is, tennis parents, that sport is meant to be enjoyed. Okay. And with all the sport we see on TV, sometimes it doesn't look like it's meant to be enjoyed because the players are surrounding the referee and arguing, or the fans are booing someone else having a kick at goal, or booing, get the manager out, he's rubbish, or whatever it is. I think we need to get back to enjoying sport for what it is, right? Because then more people will play it, and the more people would play it, the more superstars we see. I just think, especially young players, need to feel that it's something to enjoy rather than endure because a parent maybe wasn't quite as successful as they'd imagined they might be when they were a kid, and they're trying
Mm.
to, create that success through their children, right? Um, just enjoy the journey. It is very rewarding going through the ups and downs. Um, and I often say sport is kind of a microcosm for life, right? Is you can learn so much from playing sport that applies to life, whether that's resilience, whether that's perseverance, keeping going when things aren't, going your way.
Mm.
Um, you can always get up and go again. And it's the same with life. You haven't failed until you stop trying.
Mm.
So I know you asked for one thing and there's probably a dozen in there, but hey.
Okay. I knew it would be hard to come down to one. The one that really stood out to me was this distinction between enjoy versus endure. I love that. And and that would be my hope for every kid that plays any sport is that they can spend as much time in that enjoy column as possible and don't have to endure their parent or their coach or you know whatever that they legitimately wake up and can't wait to get out on the pitch or on the rink or whatever and go and enjoy themselves. So, how can people get in touch with you or find your book um, and learn more about mud tries and tantrums?
Yeah, so I'm on Facebook, um, Patrick Hickman. I think my website is on the screen, patrickhickman.uk. Um, there's a link in there to the book, or you can just go straight on to Amazon, search for Mud Tries and Tantrums. It's available on wherever you can get Amazon. It's in paperback. and also on Kindle if you want it quicker.
Great. Well, this has been a lot of fun, and I wish you all the best and good luck with the book and with the rugby season ahead. Yeah, it was great seeing you. Thanks, Patrick.
Cool. Thanks, Greg.